something. Give your kind of village, that our people, Eja Bui, Eja Sozo, Eja Nene India, Kubudonaga, Name Mepe, Hena Demo. So, in here, you know, Kaibarachi, Otra and Negru Ayozo, for that, she never. Honey, they would Obina, they would Aka, they would in her one. And when they go too much, you try to go well. They didn't. But the little they had, they brought it and they were able to achieve so much. So we are saying, the too many now, and we can do more than the Ozoma. At this point, before I go to the proposal, and all is here. What time? Maybe we are English. That is good now. So we move here. Good look. Now presented the paper. I presented the basis of this task. How can a community mobilize themselves together to prepare a Marshall Plan for their community and then follow that Marshall Plan through to achievement? The main thing is that let the community bring together all their professionals. Like if we have more than 100 lawyers, more than 100 doctors, more than 100 engineers, more than 100 educationists. How do we bring them together and get them to make a 50-year development plan for their community? So that at any point in time, every council, home and abroad, can have a basket of ideas they can always pick from. And I have emphasized that here in the Ghana school, side that school, side them maiden, I am actually chairman and deputy vice chancellor, Noka. Chairman Colloquium, Professor Noka. Some of our speakers here, Professor Imo State University, Lady Surveyor, Port Harcourt, Justice, many there in the sheep from Indian Ghana school, who don't try to sheep with their own labor. As a ruler, I'm a Indian ruler. Let's bring together whatever we are doing. I am not lying, okay? All of them are of all conferences. There are no Republican authorities now. Who are there? School like the ruler. So I have proposed that I am with different generations. More than they non as union for the war. I did and the Google. The Google are buying in or in Obizi 50 years time. So, living not at school, secondary school, before the war, I want to pray for the elders. At least by this time, between 65 years and above. Let them be the elder generation. Here we're putting Anya Okuma, why in actually? Because right now, the development dreams of this nation. What's happening now? Mambra University in 1972. All clean and they address them there. Nyem toilet room. I may strike because it was from ice cream from Amen. On Sunday afternoon like all 1/4 of the chicken, none of dinner. So we have seen things and we can project. Our work can be asked to well. She stone and corridor. All the maiden or what. So those of us who are elders can say what we want. The leader from 1970 to 85, Afor swore a group. Hey, meet, they separate the wine. The 1985 to 2000, I want the pre-millennium. Have a wine. The Nippos millennium, I want they will down from 2000, you will question on us, space union now. Have a wine. What they want. Handling the patient there as what they want to see in Obizi in 50 years' time. Then it will capture all these ideas. Set up a committee, synthesize these ideas, and then have one Marshall Plan. Eventually, one Marshall Plan. Then I create a professional group that will oversee the elements of this Marshall Plan in their areas of professional training. All the doctors, all the nurses, all the pharmacists, all the herbal medicine people, not here, will consider themselves into one group of health and physical well-being committee. Highway a standing association or group. When an executive, that executive will work from year to year in between their annual conferences. And then that medical group will now supervise all the medical activities going on in Obizi. Only recognize that they should find out who really fake drug. Only see how government I am check them or really nowhere hospital neighbor, and they to be sure that the quality of health services we have is good. The same thing, education. I am learning level of education. Constitute yourself into a group. Make sure that all the schools not here give quality education. Make sure that all my areas labor are not disadvantaged. Create scholarship programs that will encourage them to try to be the best. And when incentives for teachers not here, some their students will put that when is in Civic or there's or after university, any an award. In that way, we are looking into how education is going on in this place. Every holiday, I need a from every level. I am wearing extramural classes, so they Lord and 9 extramural lessons before the war. So we keep them going. Here I am on holiday, God is some way, I'm going to Lord you now walk. I'm not trying to I'm trying to now look at the Chinese, now look at the Dutch. But I Christmas every holiday, there will be intermingling. The same thing, our engineers, surveyors, geologists will now look into our organization. Everywhere is becoming an urban district. We are having erosion problems. We are having land scarcity problems. So they will now look into how is this place going to look in 50 years? Population is increasing. Why is everybody bringing out the water into the road? I think road workers today in a channel water into people's farm. Very rich. So our engineers will look into this. They'll look into it. We can create it. We can do that. As though 2 or 3 lorries. And we will young merchants from this Obizi. Also, as I said, no, I was speaking. They used to go to Afor, Fuji, young market. We can create this place to be a young market. We can create it, bring in lorries from the north to bring in vegetables, salad things, and the only one that is said, I'm this market, I say, then the little things, shoemaker need, and then all this is, I am fond of people. Here we warehouse here. People no longer need to go to go and buy these things. So, in this way, the living qualities, they will now look into our look into SDA Council, give us good constitution and how we can really operate better. And also train. Our leaders need to be trained in ADR, alternate dispute resolution, so that again they cook a left and center. And once she use the modern mechanisms to make sure that our people live in peace and then they can resolve their problems as and when due. Ask them, only a plan of action. Only a plan and a budget. Ideas go the world, always go everything. Money without idea will miss good. But even with idea, the money will find those ideas and execute it. So let's not talk of money. Let things be and have a plan so that at no time will their council more home and abroad will say that they like ideas of what needs to be done. Let's give them a basket of ideas, things that are doable and things that can be done. And now what? I can be an MPA. So may God help us. Some of you have got it for more than 2 years now. Because one year, do you want to know say can they implement? Then, oh, I don't know.
Chartered engineer, that will be MPA. All that was now. There was no good in the motor. Government official to the men, you know, so we tell them the last and they get quick. Honorable Justice Eugene
Chairman of the occasion, Professor Libo, Onyeze, because the stand up on existing protocols. Obizi Colloquium. Kelelu. Biko ndị ji akwụkwọ a gị lelee anya kama o nwere ebe ndị ga-ewu long jump n'ihi oge. Kemgbe obi dị m ụtọ nke ukwuu na ahụpụtara m n'ọgbakọ dị otu a ngala adịghị onye nwụ. Tọpik e nyere m ọ ga-aka mma na bekee, so unu gba mbọ nyere m aka gee ya na bekee. Even though emotionally I would like to speak it in English. I will jump to my introduction. I have a quote there. If we face our tasks with resolution to solve them, who shall say that anything is impossible? Ọ bụrụ na anyị kekọọ obi anyị ọnụ were ya tinye ya n'ọrụ mee ihe anyị chọrọ ime, onye ga-akpali kakadị ha ime. Nwa bekee kwurukwa ahụ Wilfred Granfell. Now, the title of this presentation is Leadership, Governance, and Political Repositioning of Obizi. When I was given this topic, it took me quite a while to fully appreciate its ramifications and the best way to approach it. But in the end, I concluded that the best approach is to rearrange the title in a way that will enable me give the greatest attention and emphasis to the concept that is most vital and more easily and practically achievable. In other words, I believe that the most important concept in this topic is the word leadership. So I will deal with leadership last and devote greater portion of the presentation to the concept and issue of leadership. So, in the first order, let me first political repositioning of Obizi. In our vernacular, Yawna speak by Yemeka Yeba. Only asking, who could they Gabi? Go Gabi Adekemwa. What it simply means is that in that position he is now is a dwarf. People around him are dwarf for there. Now, what does this idea mean? I think the idea of political repositioning refers to how we can put Obizi in a better position to take advantage of or to benefit from the Nigerian and Imo State politics and governments. I think the idea is, for instance, that since the era of Dr. A.N. Ogbonna, Obizi one of Obizi has not really produced any political heavyweights. People who are close enough to the centers of political power or governmental influence. So how can we reposition Obizi so that it becomes possible to have Obizi men and women as top political delegates, members of the houses of assembly, representatives, or even the Senate, or have Obizi people been represented as ministers and top aides and advisors to governors and presidents. To be frank with you, this matter is extremely difficult when you think about it seriously. And anyone who thinks that there is an easy way or easy solution to this issue will be making a serious mistake. This is purely because of the practical realities of our Nigerian politics, in which everything depends, firstly, on money and one's ability to own it and spend it. Spending it doesn't mean going to buy granite. I mean spending money endlessly. And secondly, it depends ultimately on numbers and demography. That is, the actual human beings with votes. Now, let's imagine the following. One, imagine that we have an Obizi son who wants to go for some high political office. Two, imagine that he has access to hundreds of millions needed for the rest. Three, also imagine that he belongs to PDP. Now, so far, so good with our imagination. We have an ambitious Obizi son who has enough money. And he belongs to a popular party. This is all well and good. But now, look at the tricky and difficult problems. And that will be our first imagination. What if you have other similar Obizi sons who want to go for the same position, but from either APC or APGA? Are you going to work on the other two to step down, assuming they agree? but I still wonder how you can possibly do that. Also, can you realistically tell every Obizi candidate to vote for him? I come to the first or number 5, imagination. And let us imagine that you have miraculously overcome all these problems. That then leaves us with the other matter of demography or population. Now, remember that Obizi is not a federal or state constituency. And by demography or population, Obizi is not larger than Onitsha or Iden or even Amoma or Ezido. By now, I hope you can see where I'm heading to in this argument. So, if by a miracle the whole Obizi unite behind one candidate, then what happens if Onitsha or Ezido, for instance, select their own candidates and unite behind those candidates? I just wonder where that would lead to. Or take it more simpler. What if finally it comes down to a contest between the Obizi candidates and the Onitsha candidates? How would you make sure that Obizi candidate wins, considering the reality of the population and demography factor of the place? Should we then, as Obizi people, throw our hands up in air in self-resignation, bemoaning our fate? Should we blame nature for locating us where we are in relation to our sister communities in Ezinihite or Mbise? Should we not build bridges of harmony with them for mutual political benefits? Should we not, by that I mean there are more and more questions. Questions and questions without an answer. Wise, educated, and intelligent Obizi men and women, if these questions impregnate you, then can we not, in an Olonta, I hope elders here know what I mean by Olonta. Can we not, in an Olonta, in level-headed manner, brainstorm over them? Conclusion, i.e., as to the first part of my paper. To conclude this part of this paper, I hope we can see from these brief examples that the political repositioning of Obizi is not a simple and straightforward affair. And given the way the Nigerian politics is characterized by money sharing, treachery, deception, backstabbing, and shady deals making, we can easily foresee that the positioning Obizi people for political advantage may likely go beyond the practical control of Obizi alone. So, while I wholeheartedly advise us Obizi to always support any Obizi people who seek political positions to succeed, the reality of Nigerian politics also makes it very obvious that such political success will always ultimately depend on the individual person's ability to successfully play the Nigerian political game in terms of spending money, making deals, and building alliances. Now, let's look at the second segment of this topic, which is governance, i.e., the governance of Obizi. And I have a quote. Few consider how much we are indebted to government, because few can represent how wretched. That wretched can be what is there. It can be wretched without W. How wretched mankind would be without it. In other words, remove what we call government anywhere, including in small units like family, village, or community. Remove governance, remove government, then you will have either a zoo or a forest where the mighty triumphs and the small one is trampled upon. So that quote emphasizes the need for government and therefore governance. The golden words of Orwell, I quoted that from a sage called Joseph Addison. The golden words of Joseph Addison quoted above highlights the indispensability of government generally. In one word, the way government govern, including their acts and actions, constitute governance. MC, I won't mind a glass of water. And the way a group of people, like a country, a state or community, or even market group, or a family unit, organize their affairs. It includes the structures to carry things into effect as different from politics. Governance may be good or bad. When it is good, it must manifest certain attributes. It should be participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, effective, equitable, inclusive, as well as adhering to the rule of law. I submit that these are not only desiderata, that is, things desired, but indeed conditions sine qua non, that is, indispensable conditions for good governance. And so, good governance in Obizi. I repeat that. Good governance in Obizi must be measured or assessed by these conditions or yardsticks. For this purpose, may I be permitted to restrict myself to Obizi. In Obizi currently, the key structures are the following: Obizi Central Aladema, Obizi Youth Association, Obizi Central Abroad Union, Obizi Home and Abroad Union, and Eze Obizi in Council. These institutions must work under constitutions. My brothers, I repeat that. These organizations, these institutions must work under workable constitutions, carefully made or amended as the case may be. No power or authority or person or persons shall be above this constitution. As Daniel Webster said, whatever government is not a government of laws is a despotism. Let it be called what it meant. In the overall direction of this paper, I believe that the governance of Obizi simply refers to those social and cultural bodies, organizations, collective entities, structures, mechanisms, and processes through which Obizi citizens can participate in the running of Obizi, the management of Obizi affairs, and in the decision-making process in Obizi. If I were to roughly describe it in Igbo, I would say that the governance of Obizi means usoro ọchịchị nke Obizi, nke wụ ọgbakọ niile, otu niile, nzukọ niile, ndị so na-ahazi, idozi, ilekọta na itinye ọnụ n'ọchịchị nke Obizi. So, what are these governance bodies, structures, and processes, and how can they be improved, changed, transformed, or made more effective for the better and more progressive functioning and development of Obizi? Well, I believe that we don't need to worry about the body of ages. By grant, I don't mean plans in the larger sense of it, but I mean a group of villages. Instead, we should concentrate on those that concern Obizi, with the governance of Obizi centrally and as a whole. In other words, we may not bother about any unit or any creation of Umiri that functions in the middle, or of Asia that functions in Asia only, or of Umosisi or Amudi or in Iraq. No, I am thinking of what is that have application throughout Obizi as a community. Those relevant governing bodies are currently are indicated as current. Those relevant governance bodies and structures currently are as indicated above. May I point out that we have to be careful in including those abroad or diaspora. I have not said we should exclude them all, but we should be careful, and so So these bodies that we have identified, what precisely do they do? How or what exactly are their roles and functions in or was the governance of Obizi? Beyond what these bodies have, I'm talking in terms of real power. And if indeed they do have real power and influence, then do they exercise those powers and influence effectively for the benefit and governance of Obizi? If, however, these bodies and functions do not have real power and influence, or if they do not exercise those powers and influence effectively, or if they do not perform their role properly and efficiently, then what can be done to improve the situation? In order to improve and make the governance of Obizi more efficient, productive, and progressive, would these bodies need to be completely dissolved and restructured? Would they need to be reformed and reconstituted, for example, by introducing new members and executives and increasing the frequency of their meetings, perhaps? Or would they need to convene, or we need to convene a constitutional conference and then draft fresh constitutions, clearly identifying the governance bodies and functions, and clearly spelling out their roles, functions, and powers? We depend on how we answer these questions raised above, and we will also recognize that in today's Obizi, there may also be some entities or vested interests that may not want to see any real power changes as my key argument in this paper and in this section is simply that at this stage in our history, the leadership of Obizi is, above everything else, the single most important factor that will determine the health, welfare, well-being, unity, development, and progress of Obizi. In fact, I will stress my belief in the pivotal, overriding, and supreme importance of leadership by making the following comparison. Leadership is the bread that coordinates. When I last said how leadership coordinates every other arm of the peasantry, if you call it that, the masses. And then I also went ahead to state that it is not disputed that from every facet of human endeavor, it is the leadership that makes them move. It is the leadership that shows direction. It is the leadership that galvanizes, encourages, motivates, and influences each people towards a common communal well-being, welfare, unity, and development. So that argument continued a while, and then I came to the next paragraph. With respect to Obizi, I say leadership. When I say leadership, I mean that holds wealth, real power, and influence. By Obizi leadership, I mean those people in whose hands real power is concentrated. And by real power, I mean the person or persons who have the power and ability to get other important or influential people to walk in the direction they want them to go. How do we accept that to put in